Hello, friends, and welcome once again to Concert Conversations, our wonderful, rare glimpse inside the music with the music director of the Quad City Symphony Orchestra, Maestro Mark Russell Smith. Maestro, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's great to be here as always, Kai. Thank you.
And we always want to thank our friend Chris Connolly, Wells Fargo Advisors, for making this series and these similar programs available to us. What a way to finish our journey through the Masterworks season this year, but with some really extraordinary music, including, once again, thank you, Maestro, some brand new music none of us has heard. So before we get into particulars, could you tell us about how this particular program started to lock into focus for you?
Well, it's funny. I was speaking, I forget with, I think maybe it was Brian Baxter, somebody about this program. And, the kind of quintessential standard orchestral program through the ages is overture, concerto, symphony, right? And that's what we have this time, Masterworks VI, but it's the only one of the whole year that's like that, I mean, that's kind of that was the standard formula forever and ever. And it's like what was tried and true and what people come to expect. But it's like, and of course I hadn't planned it that way to be like overture, concerto, symphony. That's just kind of how the stars aligned. But it's like, this is kind of the one standard cliched, type of program that we're doing, albeit, it's a concerto that we have commissioned, so a brand new piece. And anyway, so we have overture, concerto, symphony because I'm not very creative and that's all we can do. So, but
Well,
no.
I know there are a lot of people who join me in saying if you wanted to do a collage again and again and again, that was so well received last month's Masterworks with the Bach collage. So you can do whatever you want, traditional, new, we love it all. So thank you.
Well, yeah. And we've done a lot of kind of out of the way, interesting things this year. I mean, I don't know if it's different than in past seasons. Not really. It's kind of the same, but yeah, it's worked very well and kind of pairing pieces together without pause and, pieces that comment on each other. I like doing that a lot. And so I've gotten a lot of really wonderful comments, like you said.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, let's dive right in. I did not realize that Johannes Brahms wrote the tragic overture in the same year as he wrote a piece with a very different personality, the Academic Festival Overture.
Yep.
Those were written in close proximity to each other, and he even said that one is laughing and one is crying.
Exactly.
I don't know that crying is right for the tragic, but it certainly is a lot more meaty.
Well, it's intense. I love this overture. It's been in my repertoire for a very, very long time. And I haven't brought it to quad, I don't think. I'll have to ask people who know those things. I'm not one of those people. But it's a piece that I've done a lot, that I really love. And it has incredible lyricism, great beauty, great intensity. It really runs the gamut of emotions. And yeah, I mean, I think I first fell in love with it. Actually, I know for a fact. It was a program when I was a student at Juilliard in New York City, and Carlo Maria Giulini, the great Italian conductor, brought the LA Philharmonic to do the Brahms Requiem. And he opened, so the Brahms Requiem, of course, the amazing, full evening piece, just, that plumbs the depths emotionally. Anyway, he opened with this tragic overture, and I just remember like the darkness of the sound, and his whole way of making music was super intense and very serious and just fully committed. And I just remember like after that overture thinking like, oh my, like just like damn, it's like wow, yeah, I mean just like boom, And so it's a piece that after hearing a master perform that repertoire and hearing the darkness of the sound and the great intensity of expression, I wanted to imitate that. And so as a young conductor, I studied the piece. And so it's been with me a long time. And I'm looking forward to doing it with the Quad City Symphony for sure.
I love it when we get a chance to talk with you about a piece that has been part of your journey for a while, because I'm always intrigued by as you walk through the different stages of your own professional career and life, What do you learn that's different about this piece than from that first sort of awe-inspiring here, or that early one with Giulini?
Well, interestingly, like I do it a little bit faster than I used to. I used to like, I don't know, really, want to like not miss any detail or just like really point stuff out. And so and it's kind of as a young conductor, like actually a lot of young conductors are like super fast and they're like too fast. They don't let the music breathe. And for me, it was kind of the opposite. I would like kind of brood too much. I would like be a little too indulgent in a lot of ways. And so we're talking, very subtle differences here, but my interpretation has kind of sped up a little bit in this piece. I think I can still get the pathos and the drama, but also have a little more urgency in it than I used to. And I'd like to think I've learned something in my old age, and having done a piece, so to be able to push and pull, to be able to play with the tempo, which is I think part of incumbent in the Romantic style, and I certainly what Brahms expected. It's I feel like I'm, especially with a piece that I've done so many times, very able to do that. And so it's very liberating. And I think, inspiring for the players and hopefully the audience, I mean, I'm deeply committed to this piece and I know it really well. And so hopefully, some sparks will fly.
Well, I know we're all looking forward to seeing those sparks and hearing them with you. But we've got some other interesting sparks yet to come on this program. Once again, I found it interesting that you said, sort of the same old thing of introducing us to brand new stuff. So if you've gotten us into a pattern of teaching us new and wonderful vistas, fine, keep going with that. But we're get to hear Jacob Bancks' newest, or among his newest creations, commissioned by the Quad City Symphony Orchestra. Tell us a
Right.
little bit about the genesis of the second work on the program.
Well, it was, boy, it was a long time ago. It was like it was 2020 and 2021. Like this has been on the docket for a long time. And then, due to COVID, taken off the docket. And then because of availabilities and because of Philadelphia orchestra schedules, all sorts of things, it's like, this has been a long time coming. Here we are in 2024. I'm not sure. I think somehow Ricardo Morales heard Jacob, or they shared a program somehow, or somehow they got connected. And so the idea of writing a concerto for him and partnering with the Philadelphia Orchestra and then also the Quad City Symphony, like co-commissioners, and then the Marine Chamber Orchestra. I don't know. It's basically through Jacob, I think, kind of friends of Jacob, FOJ, I should say.
FOJ?
FOJ. I don't know if that's a thing, but and that's frankly how things often work, is that there's a composer in whom we all believe, and of course there are other people believe in him too, and so it's a very natural thing to want to collaborate with these. And so the Philadelphia Orchestra, of course, is a impressive artistic entity, and so to share with them, and then the Marine Chamber Orchestra same. And so so we're one of our 3 co-commissioners in this concerto, and we're the last one to play it, just because of kind of logistics and schedules. And I think they did it in Philly over a year ago, I think, and Marine Orchestra. Yeah, I don't know. They made a recording of it, actually, I believe. So anyway, so and with Ricardo Morales' schedule as a principal clarinetist of the Philly Orchestra, there are certain weeks that he can get off, and there are weeks that he can't get off. And so, like, the weeks where we were having concerts weren't necessarily weeks that he could come, and it's like a mad scramble of all sorts of different influences. But finally, now, April of 2024, he will come and grace our stage, and amazing artist, wonderful person, great clarinet player. And the piece is really cool.
Well, you've teed it up nicely for people to come, even if they get a chance to watch this video, and join us in the Adler on Saturday night, Centennial on Sunday, so we can hear from Jacob. We'll put him on the spot for more of that storytelling. I find an interesting historic quirk here that there was another great work of music that was written involving a clarinetist from the Philadelphia Orchestra. That was that Philip Delancey, who managed to be the person who helped to lead the Americans who discovered Richard Strauss at the end of World War II.
John Delancey.
John Delancey. I'm sorry. Of course. Well, I'm thinking Philadelphia. I'm so sorry.
Right.
John Delancey. So what is it about clarinets and the Philadelphia Orchestra? I don't get it.
Well, no, he was oboe though.
Oh, was he oboe?
Yeah, John. There was the Strauss oboe concerto.
See where I'd be without you, Maestro. I would just
Right.
be wandering
No,
off in
yeah,
stories.
John Delancey was principal oboe, and it was a soldier in World War II, and then
Yeah.
got Strauss to write the Strauss oboe concerto, which Andy Parker played a few years back.
He
which
did
is,
for us. That's, you know what, I'm going to have to write a stack of apology notes.
It all comes together. It's
It'll
fun.
all come together the first weekend.
But I mean, the fact is, the Philadelphia Orchestra is renowned for their, great wind playing. Especially, there's a great tradition that started with Tchaikovsky and Eugene Ormandy, and
Sure.
so like the principals of Philly are, obviously world-class players and soloists in their own right, and that continues.
And you've cultivated that relationship for us. We've had some great artists from Philadelphia here during your tenure. I remember even going back further, we had a season where we were inviting concert masters from
Right.
different orchestras, and we had
Right.
one from Philadelphia. So anyway,
Right.
I just want to thank you for making this incredible partnership happen, and we'll learn more at the concert. But I'm happy to hear you say this is a piece that's going to really grab our attention.
Absolutely. And Jacob is, obviously a brilliant orchestrator, and it uses jazz, uses like all the American influences just with incredible skill, and is so, I mean, he's a virtuoso composer with different styles, and the way he combines things. I mean, he has a unique voice, but it's like it's clearly American influence, jazzy and just his way, how he makes an orchestra sound. Brilliant orchestrator. I mean, each piece that we've done of his, and we've done a number of his pieces, really proves this. And here he is in our midst in the Quad Cities, and we are grateful for that. I mean, he's a force. He's a artistic force in the Quad Cities, and of course, a wonderful, beloved professor at Augustana. And so for us, I mean, he actually says about the Quad City Symphony, man, I feel so lucky to have an orchestra like this in my backyard. And right back at you, we feel lucky to have a composer of this level, who's getting the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Marine Band and like, high level commissions in our backyard. So it's, yeah, I mean, these, things are happening on a very high level, and we both, it reciprocates, and I love working with him, and he loves working with the orchestra. And so, yeah, it's a natural.
Well, and we are very fortunate. There's just something about this wonderful constellation that comes together around the QCSO. It's a great thing. But I don't want to give short shrift to the last work on this program, Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony. Now, the journey you've taken us on all season has been remarkable and extraordinary. What was it about Tchaikovsky's Fourth that made you think this was the right one to sort of tie it all together?
To sell tickets for the next year. No, well, actually, I'm not actually
kidding. You shouldn't be. It's a lovely work.
I mean, Tchaik 4, I mean, you want, of course, to end the season, blazing. And, we open the season with Shostakovich. It just so happens, like, we have bookends, Russian bookends, Soviet and Russian bookends. There's no agenda there whatsoever. I mean, that's just how it worked out. But Tchaik 4, it's kind of, there are certain just tried and true romantic symphonies that our audience wants to hear. And so it's been a long time for Tchaik 4. And so really I look at how do I want to close the season? How do I want people to go out into the world, thinking about the season and thinking about the orchestra? And Tchaik 4, I mean, one of the greatest finales, one of the most barn-burning finales ever, beautiful melodics, second movement, I mean, it has it all. And as far as barn burning, it's like that's the one. It just ends with, a blaze of glory. And so it's I think a great way to take us into the summer.
I'm always intrigued by the psychology around Tchaikovsky. And of course, it's all just sort of subjective hypothesis and everything else. But this piece includes this very weird relationship he had with a patron named Nadezhda von Meck. And they had the most extraordinary relationship arbitrated through pen and ink. They wrote letters to each other that were very, very profound. And he considered her a partner in
Right.
composing and creating this work in particular. But they only laid eyes on each other, I think, once, and they were too stunned. It was by accident in a park, and they couldn't even talk to each other. They couldn't take that relationship to even talking with one another. So there's got to be something deep going on there. But he certainly considered her an integral part of creating this work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah. And he was just
Right.
getting done with what many think was a sham marriage that
Right, for
he
sure.
didn't want to be a part of. He
Right.
reportedly tried to kill himself to get out of
Right.
the marriage.
Right.
And it took Rubinstein coming and telling the poor girl, no, you've really got to leave.
Right.
So a hard time for him, but we get this incredible work that comes out of it.
We do, I mean, you hear, yeah, I mean, the fate motive, as people call it, or whatever, I mean, it's, I mean, Tchaikovsky is his natural, well, he has natural theatricality, I mean, it's natural, super expressive music. And so even in his symphonies, there are these theatrical or really not obvious, but like, out there gestures, this, the big opening fanfare and how it comes back and the role that it plays. And so, I mean, I think it's very direct. It's very direct. And so like it's hard on sleeve, and so this is why one reason why audiences really relate to it, because, he puts it out there, and it's, it's not complicated to understand. I think if you're a feeling person and you're open and really take it in. And so, I mean, the pathos, the intensity, the frivolity and the colors of the third movement and the scherzo, and then just the finale, it's all these things are, to be taken at face value. I mean, there's a lot of depth there with Tchaikovsky, especially more so in the first movement, but this is, it's music that reads directly. And I think that's one of the reasons why people love it so much.
Well, what gets me about this is that was not the case at its premiere. When it began,
Right.
its first
Right, which is
performance
hard to believe, right?
in Russia, that they didn't like it at all. And then it came to America in 1890, and I found this quote by one reviewer for the New York Post. It says, the symphony proved to be one of the most thoroughly Russian, i.e. semi-barbaric compositions ever heard in this city. If Tchaikovsky had called the symphony a sleigh ride through Siberia, no one would have found this title inappropriate. But a couple of years later, it makes its British premiere, and they love it from the get-go. So what is it about the work that people initially, and I know we're imagining here, why didn't they like it, and why did it take a while for it to grow on?
Excellent question. I don't know, because, I mean, the second movement is just, is Tchaikovsky's lyrical gift, a beautiful song that's passed throughout the orchestra. The first movement is the most thorny in a way. I mean, it's the most kind of worked out, the most structurally rigorous, and so I think after the initial, fanfare at the very beginning, this waltz, this kind of hesitating waltz, that's the most kind of enigmatic part of the whole symphony. And the way that it's structured is less kind of overtly satisfying than the other movements. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it took people, it didn't connect immediately with it and therefore stopped listening. I don't know, because I mean, for me, it's very direct, very emotional, very colorful, very evocative, and just communicates in a, from his heart to our hearts and ears, and so, yeah, it's hard to imagine it being not beloved immediately.
Well, I hate to say it, but we're soon going to be running out of time, but I don't want to let that pass without some great news that just broke here recently. But we all know that Emanuel Ax is going to be joining the Quad City Symphony Orchestra for its wonderful gala at the end of the season following this wonderful Masterworks. And as if you needed any other reason to get your tickets right away, we're going to hear Beethoven's Fifth Piano Concerto in addition to everything else. Does the guy get combat pay for taking on so
I know
much?
it's impressive. It's impressive to do Emperor and then follow it up with Mozart D minor piano concerto. I mean, it's fantastic. It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I mean, he requested this change of rep and we were saying, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we can throw Beethoven in there as well as Mozart, so much the better. So it's going to be very exciting evening. And, you know, people love the Emperor. It's, you know, it'll add a few minutes to the concert, but I think people will be okay with that. You know, I'm very excited because he's a great Beethoven interpreter, a great, you know, classical German, Beethoven, Mozart, you know, Schumann. I mean, this is his stuff. And so I'm very excited to be able to have the Emperor as well.
Well, and I'm very grateful to you for the leadership that gets someone like an Emmanuel Axe here in our community and in our midst doing such wonderful work. And that reminds me that this is the last of the concert conversations for this Masterworks season. And it's a chance for me to say, on behalf of everyone who's enjoyed these, thank you, Maestro, for being with us during these wonderful programs.
My pleasure. I love doing it. And I know people like hearing about it. So I'm very, very happy to do it.
All right, friends, we'll be seeing you for this last Masterworks either Saturday night at the Adler Theater, Sunday afternoon at Centennial Hall at Augustana College. If you don't have your tickets, get them now, qcso.org. Maestro, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.